We are back. I'm gonna
We are
slowly
here.
move my mic away from my computer fan because I feel like it's gonna pick up on all the fan noises. So we're gonna move
I know
it.
and I do have my fan on as well because it's hot in here. But
That's okay.
first we're back at school.
It
Your phone says everything. Like,
okay. It's not the kids. I have a really good group this year. It's just I being an introvert, living alone, you are the extent of my social interactions. So going from only talking like a fraction of my day, I'm talking like 90% of my day, and it's just like
oh, that's a lot.
yeah, it's a lot. So it's like my heavy sigh and facial expressions are not because I do not like my classes. It is purely because it's
It's a lot of
a lot of
yeah.
talking.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I'm tired of telling people to go buy my book on Kickstarter. Like, I like talking about my book, but at the same time, I'm like,
That's funny.
oh, I don't want to think of
Yeah.
the spiel again.
Well, to be
Speaking of which,
fair, there's only like 17 hours left, so you only have
yeah.
17 more hours of telling people to buy your book, and then you can be done.
Yeah. So yeah, it's it. We've got 17 hours to go, so this is the last chance for you guys to get it. It's this.
Yes.
I actually have the actual version with me this time. So there's a few things
Ooh.
I need to fix for the final stuff, but yeah, I'm so excited
Sweet.
to finally not have that stupid lines on it.
Oh, yeah.
Um, so it's got the one thing that I'm excited the most about is the weekly prediction, like where you guys can like as you read the
Yes.
book predict who going to win or
Yeah.
lose because as the author I've never gotten to do that and I never will because I
Sweet.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's got
I
so those fun.
I am fully prepared to cover those in transparent sticky notes so that way I can write, like just I don't know, like something about I don't want to like permanently fill it. Like I annotate and write in other books before, but it's like those kind of pages I don't want to like permanently fill them in. So I'm like use transparent
I'm
sticky
excited.
notes.
Also the character guide. So I did change it to where these are going to be bigger the sketches, but so they're
Oh,
like
cool.
centered and they're bigger.
Oh,
But the
sweet.
detailed character it has details about the characters that are not in the books,
Oh,
so
cool.
that's all gone
You
in
know,
17 hours and that's
that
your last chance
reminds
to get it.
me that reminds me of like there was a book that I had bought for the Twilight saga, and it's one of the few books, one book that I haven't bought again because when I got rid of all my Twilight books, which I
Right.
regretted like a few years later. But it was like a guide, and it had like drawn sketch. Yeah, it was like the official illustrated guide, and it had like sketches and like of the characters and like information about each of the characters, and that's what kind of reminds me of. Is like there's
Yeah,
this big guide about all the characters and stuff, and
so cool.
yeah,
I like it. 'Cause there was just like not enough, like it's already a long book, so I didn't get to include all of the little details that like some
yeah,
and as the author, like I'm with OCD, I like to know everything, so it's like you don't need to know everything. But it's got the illustrations in it and the short story companion, which I can't show you because of spoilers. Very big. And the first I did a video one time, I was like, I'm gonna have to cut that out because that has the giant
oh, that's
spoiler at the
funny.
top. But trust me, with this kind of book, you're gonna want the bonus story at the end. I've never put the bonus stories at the end. They're like the Marvel in credit scenes, kind of. So it sets up the final four books, is
Yeah,
what those short companions. So if you're reading this book, it's gonna be handy to have that. I'm never gonna put it back in the book again, so it's like your only chance. And by you, I mean the audience.
it always felt like an investment because with your earlier books, it was like Hunter being book one, you could find the short story at the end of the second book. For the end of the second book had the first book's short story, so it always felt like an investment to keep like getting them because you could get the short stories, and like it was kind of also like an incentive to read them in order because if you read them out of order you would get a short story ending for a for like, I don't know, you got like a short story for a book you hadn't read yet, and so it's like it always felt like kind of like an incentive to keep reading them in order, like read them in
Yeah.
order.
Like, Yeah, but so this one actually does still have the short story companion to
Sweet.
Rogue for anybody who's still in that one. So that one was a doozy. So for the Rogue people are probably like, I need this now. So you also get that.
Sweet.
And you, as backers, we've got a stretch goal. So what we're working toward next is stickers of the sketches. But we've got your backer names will all be added to the dedication page in the main book. So November, so your
Mm,
guys' names will be in there.
sweet.
Um, and you're gonna get bookmarks and illustrated prints, and a new illustration is gonna be added to all the tiers. So, and all the backers get to vote on that. So they're actively voting on that as we speak. So anybody new who backs, you can check all the past updates, and you'll be able to vote and actually contribute to like what you want to make this
Sweet.
book as special as possible. Kind of what I'm doing. So,
Awesome.
but I've been marketing for the last 3 days straight with breaks for food, and that's it. So as much as I'm gonna say about that, I also have a bunch of book stuff to talk about that I'm excited for because I have been reading has been my lifeline. Thanks Outlander
Mm-hmm.
and thanks Mr. Ballin for his strange, dark, and mysterious graphic novel because
Mm-hmm.
that's keeping me sane right now.
Yep.
But so you finished Crescent City,
I
so I know you're gonna
did.
have a lot to say about before I get into my book stuff about the books that I'm reading. So
Hmm.
you have a say. I saw a short. I just didn't watch it because I didn't want
Oh.
spoilers. But I saw something like that you're unhappy with Bryce or whatever.
Oh, that was
Like
like
the
in the middle of the book.
okay,
It like in the middle. I got frustrated with her. I don't know. It felt like there were certain like big things that happened to some of the other important characters, and it just felt like she was just completely ignoring that to continue to
right.
pursue what she wanted to like accomplish, and it just felt like, so we're ignoring this. We're not talking about the trauma. Got it. And it was annoying. And there
Yeah.
were like, I don't know, it was just, I don't know, it was just hard to, I don't know, I got tired, okay, I got tired of, anyway, people being called a-holes all the time, and it was just, her attitude, okay,
Right.
her attitude in book 3 shifted randomly, and I don't know if it's because
Mm-hmm.
of the situation she was in and the stress level that she was feeling, but I feel like that wasn't explicitly mentioned, and I blame Sarah for that. I feel like
Okay.
Sarah should have written this a little bit differently so that way Bryce's attitude didn't give us all whiplash, because that's how it felt.
Okay.
So
That makes sense.
I blame Sarah for that. Like, I don't necessarily blame the character because the character leveled out after the situation changed, but
Mm-hmm.
it took about a good half of the book for the character to level out a little bit. And
Yeah.
it was like after I made that post, I just kind of be like, okay, I want to commit to continue reading this. I want to get it finished, and um,
Right.
eventually, and I did, and it had a good ending. I liked the ending. It wasn't as phenomenal of an ending as book 1 and 2 was. So
Mm-hmm.
I give it a 4 out of 5 star, and I think the other two books I both give 5 stars. So it's not as great of an ending. I don't know. It just felt. I don't even want to say how it felt because I don't want to give you any potential spoilers for later. So
Right.
when
Or
you if
oh,
eventually
what about
if you read it, so it's like I don't want to give you too many. I think the lore drops were probably the biggest indicators of why I give it a 4 and not a 3.
okay, because you like the lore in it.
The lore, and I also appreciated that the romances weren't solely based on sex or lust. Like, that was really nice, and I think the way I worded it in my review, which I'm going to just give just small mentions, I'm not going into detail. The way I worded it was that the different couples had disagreements, took breaks from one another, worked through their struggles, and cherished those quiet moments together. Like, there was definitely times where they're like, I don't want to have sex. I just want to exist with you in this moment. And I'm like, I love this. Oh my
Okay.
gosh, I love it. And there was like still the sexual tension there, but there's like, I just need to be with you. I just need to exist with you. And I'm like, I love that. And it's like, I love that. And it's like that, and it's mixed with the side character storylines are just, mm, and it's like, there's like one, two,
It's
three,
well
four, five, six.
constructed.
There's like, at least in my review, there are like 6 different separate side characters that I mentioned that I'm just like, I like
Ooh.
this. And there's another one I forgot to mention. And it's just like, it's really like the side characters. She writes really strong side characters. Like, I don't know what it is, but it's like there's something about the main female protagonist. I don't know why she can't. It's almost like she's writing the main female protagonist in a specific type of way, and it's like, but every other character is so rich and different and diverse, and like their storylines are all different, and it's like, I don't know, I wish
It's kind of what she does, because she did that with Throne of Glass too. So with the exception of ACOTAR and like Feyre, how good she
yeah,
did Feyre, I
yes,
feel like she just struggled with like main character female being the same, and then
yeah,
everybody else is
okay,
it's all the
there, and that there's like one, and it's I if there's a potential, there's a way that she could potentially like make up for that, the fact that
right.
that because Feyre's not written that way, but
Yeah.
spoiler alert, Aelin and Bryce are both written that way.
Mm.
And
So there's got to be some. I
okay,
feel like
I can't, there has to be, I have potential connections in my head, but I can't voice them yet, is what I'm saying.
okay.
But
So I was like, I finished with Ash, so I'm getting closer. I just
yeah,
need a little bit of a Mama Moss,
yeah, you
as
need,
I like to call her, break.
yeah, yeah.
I need a little bit of a
I would say take a good break, because plus we're like next month we are reading, I'm rereading, what is it? Songbird in the Heart of Stone. I'm rereading that one, and you are reading that one for the first time, so that way
That's gonna be
I
fun.
can read the next one. Because there's been a few times where I've thought about picking it, like go ahead and starting it, and I'm like, no, because every time I mention it, she's like, wait, we need to do that together, and I'm like, I gotta hold back. But the one I chose to read, that I chose to pick up and read, is actually really kind of cool. I'm enjoying how it's written. It's just written, like the writing style is different, and it's kind of cool. And it's like there's a few times where I'm just like, I was like, I don't know, because it's very gods, and or like they'll ask them a question, and then they'll read the signs to kind of give them like, oh, like this decision is a good thing. There's like a good omen, like omens favor this, or they don't favor this, and there's like a little bit of that. There's that at the beginning, but I don't feel like it's going to continue. I don't think it's going to stick with that through the entire thing, because they are on a separate, like they're on a different path at the moment. But it's like kings and knights and what do they call them? Diviners is what they're called.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like
And it's
Oracle
like,
type people.
yeah, and so it's like they can't show their eyes to people, so they're like their face or their eyes, and they when they join for like 10 years at a time, and they can't give their name to people. They're given a number. So this girl's called Six. Her number is 6, and so so
That's a cool creative.
yeah, and it's really kind of interesting, and
Reminds me of I Am Number.
it's like
The numbers.
90 type vibes and stuff, and I'm just like, it's giving me Renaissance-y vibes, and I'm enjoying it.
Nice.
It's different. It's a good different. I'm enjoying it.
That
So
is so cool.
it's called The Knight and the Moth, if anyone's curious. So it's a relatively short. It feels relatively short compared to Crescent City, so it feels like it feels like it's going by a lot quicker. But I'm just like, because when you compare the two, I'm just like, it feels very weird holding. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm like, oh well, it'll take a little bit of getting used to.
Okay, so I'm still reading Outlander, and I'm really enjoying it. I'll touch on Outlander details in a minute. But I needed to feel like I'm finishing books, so I need a second book for August to keep up my reading streak. So I needed something fast, and so that's when I did Mr. Ballin, Strange, Dark, and Mysterious. and I'm addicted to his YouTube channel. I kind of like, I binge him and then I take a break, and then after he gets several videos out, I binge him again.
Mm-hmm.
So he tells true crime stories with a twist at the end that kind of shifts your perspective on what the
Oh.
story is, and they're so addictive. And there's a collection of them, and it's a graphic novel, as you can see here. So I read
Oh,
through
cool.
half of it in a single night. So I'm
Yeah,
excited to
graphic
finish
novel.
this.
I love
I will
reading
get to
graphic novels for that reason because it just feels like you're accomplishing a lot in it.
Yeah. So I wanted to share one with you that was like, some of these stories just stick with you and they're like haunting in such an addictive way. And I feel like I wanted to briefly go over it, like tell you it, because it'll kind of give you and the audience a gist of how he
Mm-hmm.
tells these stories.
Okay.
Um, and I'm not as good as him, so just keep that in mind.
Okay.
Okay, so it's the story about this chick who used to go to this campsite where they would have like summer camp type stuff, and she grew up there, so she would go there as a kid. And these are true stories, by the way, so keep in
Yeah.
mind this is true. So she used to go to this campsite for summer kids as a summer people for kids in the summer as a kid. So when she became an adult, she ended up becoming a volunteer there, and she loved going there every year on this, summer camp type thing, and they had fun together. And so as her like as a volunteer, she and the other volunteers would camp in the woods while the kids would get bussed out and in for the day, and then they'd get bussed back out at nighttime. But
Mm-hmm.
the volunteers would stay there and camp out. So she's asleep at nighttime in the camp, and she has this nightmare. And it's a really freaky nightmare, and it scared the crap out of her. And she dreams about these people wrapping a crown of thorns around her head and digging the thorns into her head. So she wakes up screaming in pain. And when she wakes up, she realizes that something is wrong, and her friends are like freaking out. So they take her to the hospital
Mm-hmm.
because she actually was covered in blood. And she woke, basically what happened was a fox had come up and started eating her head, and she had a dream about the crown of thorns on her head because of the pain.
Yeah.
But in reality, the fox had actually taken like 20 bites out of her skull, and
Oh
so she
my
ended up going to the
God.
hospital, and she has a scar obviously underneath her hair.
That's
So she did make a
crazy.
full recovery, but she's never been able to go camping in the woods
No, I
ever
don't
since.
blame
And I'm
her.
and so that was like, so that kind of gives you the
Yeah.
gist of how twisted the stories can get, but they're so
Yeah, that's
fascinating.
cool
And
though.
yeah, because I was like, okay, where is this gonna go? And then the fox eating, I was like, I didn't see that coming, but now I'm never going camping. So here we are.
Yeah. Huh.
In that one. There's other types. There's sometimes they're crime, sometimes they're like creepy like that. Um, so that's that book. I hope to finish it in a couple nights, like get it finished before the end of the month. So Outlander, I'm reading it on my Kindle, but I like keeping track physically because it makes me, I feel like I'm making no progress on my Kindle, but when I put it in perspective of the book, I can
Mm-hmm.
see the progress. So I've gotten this much done, and it just makes me feel like I'm making bigger chunks.
Yeah.
But I am reading it on my Kindle, so I wanted to, so that's the Kindle cover, which is from the TV show. So basically, I'll read until I know an episode ends, and then I go and watch that episode that I just read because I know where the stop points are because I've seen the show enough to know, okay, like this is the end of an episode. So
Mm-hmm.
it's been fun, and I get addicted, and I want to watch ahead, but I'm trying to like read first
Mm-hmm.
because I've already noticed that like Colum and Dougal are described so differently in
Mm-hmm.
the book. They're supposed to be handsome, and
Yeah.
the movie, their TV series, they're like these old guys and not handsome at all, and I
Oh.
cannot get that out of my head to like
Oh.
picture them.
Yeah.
It's like that. Yeah, and I've noticed you've talked about that before too. um so spoiler alerts for Outlander if you guys have not read it or seen the series. I know you said you don't care about spoilers, so I'm excited because like I got to some of the episodes that are like filler episodes, so I kind of slowed down a little bit, and that's when I read half of Mr. Boland's book that one night, but then it picked back up again. So
Mm-hmm.
essentially, at one point in the story, this is when it gets good. She gets sent to Fort William with the British, and so she's trying to get back to the Stones to try to pass through and get back to her own time. And Jack Black Randall is there, and basically he doesn't trust her. He thinks she's a spy, and so she's in a lot of trouble, and he's going to essentially take her in for questioning or whatever. And so the Scottish people take her and manage to get her back, but he's like, you have a certain amount of time to get her back to this other fort, or else we're going to come after you, we're going to come after her and stuff. So essentially, the way around this is legally, if she becomes a Scottish citizen, then he has no right to her. She's an English citizen right now. And so Dougal's grand solution to this is she has to get married to a
Mm.
Scot. So she ends up getting married to Jamie.
Mm.
And so I'm at, like, I just got past the wedding part, which is the
Mm-hmm.
good part. And it's so interesting to me,
Yeah.
because this particular book was written in the 90s. So it's like spicy, but like not, because it's written poetically. It's
Yeah.
not specific about certain body parts like a regular
Details. Yeah.
modern day spicy. And it literally, when you compare it to a modern day spicy romance, the modern day romances feel raunchy
Yeah.
in comparison to how beautiful it is.
Yeah.
And also, this one was so realistic because she's so nervous, and like they have this weird, like, I barely, like, we've had a few conversations, but we don't know you, but we're both in this situation. And in this case, legally, it has to be consummated in order for it to be legally binding. So the
Yeah.
witnesses are like all waiting downstairs, and they're just kind of like, okay, what do we do now? And so they spend all night talking and trying to like ease the tension a little bit and the awkwardness.
Mm-hmm.
And there is awkward moments between them, and it's so realistic.
Yeah.
And I'm like, because I've seen the show, but obviously I skipped over the naughty bits, but it's like,
Yeah.
it's just written so fun
That's
and poetically.
cool, I like
And
that.
yeah, I'm just like, and they're starting to fall for each other and everything. And he's like, one of the lines that, because a lot of the dialogue is exactly the same, and the way that Jamie's actor Sam Heughan delivers them is just he's Jamie. Jamie is the same back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Claire is not, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But one of his lines was like, now you have the you have the protection of my name, you have the protection of my clan, and if need be, you have the protection of my body as well.
Oh.
Essentially, he's willing to die for her.
Yeah.
And the reason why he did this was because he knows how evil he's been, whipped and tortured by Black Jack Randall. So he knows what Jack is capable of,
Yeah.
and what he will do if he gets a hold of her. So he married her only to keep her out of Jack's hands.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what a man. I love this man. He's one of my favorite male characters of all time. Claire, I don't like her in the books as much. And the weird that she's so tamed down, and I don't know if it's the time difference of it written in the 90s versus the TV show came out in modern times, but she's really subdued. And like there's several instances where I can't remember exactly what had happened, but somebody had did something, and this kid had stolen a piece of bread, and so she was looking down out the window, and they were going to either chop off his hand or in revenge or whatever. And so she actually, in the TV show, she speaks out against it, and she's like, you can't do this, he's just a kid, and she's like vocal about it. And she gets her friend to convince them to basically just nail his ear to the pillory, because that was like a Scottish custom at the time instead. And it's like less of a thing. But in the book, she doesn't say anything, and like she just kind of accepts things. And also she heals so much more in the TV show. She's like the healer, and like she does in the books a little bit, but like in the TV show, she's like the go-to person. Everybody like, she'll step up and like be like a World War II nurse, where she's going to people and she's helping and healing them, and like taking command and telling the men to go get this and go get that, and they're like, you can't just command us, we're men, you're a woman. And she's like, I don't care, go get some cloth and you get some water and give me some rags. And it's just all this stuff. But in the book, she's just kind of like, she helps out, but she's just kind of like, feels like she's kind of like blander in the book, if that makes sense. And I don't really know why. So
could just be something that in the book that strong-willed attitude is more gradual in the book, and it may be one of those things that over time, and as you kind of read through the series, it might be a little bit more like it will grow more gradually. But because like that she, like in the TV show, they kind of started that a little earlier to keep the interest going and keep people interested in her character. So that might be something that over time it might improve. I don't know.
Yeah. It could be a difference in the times is kind of what I'm leaning toward too. But because she's one of the female characters that I love, that's like a strong female lead that done right in a way that I like, because she's not masculine, she doesn't do any masculine things, she's not out there fighting any of the British, but she's so strong-willed, and like her stubborn, strong-willed kind of attitude that's still like soft and caring and tender-hearted, like in a feminine way, is like the perfect epitome. And also she's endured a lot, like especially when you get to the latter seasons, her and Jamie. So yeah, it's just like, and so I've always like, she's one of my favorite female characters of all time just because of how well she's written.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and a lot of the dialogue is the same though. There's still like, there's one big plot point with Jamie that is totally taken out of the, like, it's not in the TV show at all. And it's this secret where at one point he was hit in the head with like an axe, basically, and he was injured for like a month. He went blind and he got his sight back as he recovered, but he doesn't remember that or the recovery or who did it or what happened. And Dougal was the one that found him.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, who did this and what happened to him? We don't know. And it wasn't in the TV show, so I actually don't have any answers and I don't know what's going on. Like,
Hmm.
so that's one of the interesting bits. That's really the only difference about Jamie.
Yeah. Hmm.
So, but I don't know if we'll get answers a little bit more or not. It's
Yeah.
like one of those. He's a typical book boyfriend where you unlock more of his story and the twists and turns as you go, and it's just like, but in a
Yeah.
historical setting
Yes.
sense. So
It sounds like they um took her personality and amplified it for the TV show to keep people interested in her characters. Sounds like what happened.
yeah, that's
I'm
kind of what I'm
curious
thinking.
to see if as you progress through this, because how many books are in the series, the Outlander series? It's still going, isn't it?
7, I think.
So like I'm curious to
Um,
see if
9. I was wrong. There's 9,
her
and then they're ready to do the 10th.
yeah I'm curious to see if her if she becomes more strong-willed and more like you know
If
demanding
it's like a
as the
develop.
series goes on, and it's just the show decided to start that earlier so that way people stay interested in her character and they don't like they can keep getting signed off. I wonder, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, I could easily see that being a thing. I'm just
Yeah.
curious to see if that changes as the author grows in her writing throughout the books and as the character grows too.
Yeah. And we've talked about how adaptations, especially here lately, have like they squeeze everything into the first season because they don't know if
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna actually do well.
Yeah,
And so then they're trying to do like everything
yeah,
at once in the
yeah,
first season or whatever.
and
So
Google said that the Outlander show started in 2014. Like it was first
oh,
released in 2014.
that's crazy.
So I could easily honestly that kind of process of like let's introduce all these characters, let's get her with the ad, like I could easily see that being a thing even then too,
Hmm.
even though it was
Yeah.
more common to have longer series. There was always a handful of them that didn't last very long. It was always like with TV shows, it was always a toss up of am I going to have enough time to completely get through, like are we going to get signed off for another season? Like that was always the question of like is this going to continue to be a thing or are we going to lose the you know the contract to keep going. So
Indeed. Yeah, so my last little tidbit though was the during the wedding he talked like they actually talked to get to know each other and he talks about his family, including his back story, his family's back history, which is the prequel series that's coming out right now, week by week, which is not enough, by the way. I just wanted to throw that out there for anybody. Like somebody else needs to suffer with me because this is horrible. I can't wait week by week. So I think we're on the 4th episode right now,
mm-hmm,
and so so far it seems like it's the weird thing about the prequel TV show is it seemed like it was marketed because I've been following along with it. I've mentioned in our podcast years ago, and it was like, oh, it's in development. It seemed like it was a Chinese parents, and that was like the focus is what was implied.
mm-hmm,
But and there's has been kind of it just feels like Claire's parents has gotten the forefront, but they are written so well. He was
mm-hmm,
a soldier in World War I, and he wrote a letter and she ended up the one that got it, and so she responded, so they become pen pals, and because of that they build this really strong emotional connection to each other, and then they finally meet and then they get married and they have a kid and then they go on vacation in Scotland. That's when they both accidentally end up through the stones at different times, and so he's looking
mm-hmm,
for she doesn't know that he's back in time and she's trapped and can't really get out of her situation. She's pregnant again, so and we know from Claire's history her parents died in a car accident when she was 5, And so it kind of implies they never made it back to their own time. And I'm wondering if they're going to bring them in, like if they're still, they lived and survived, um, and they're now old, I guess. They would be even like old for Claire. I didn't know if like how they're going to end that basically.
Mm.
Um, and so he has this PTSD, and it's like they portray it so realistically in the sense that I never even thought about how afterward, like the anger and like how obviously the countries involved in World War I like handled it as best as we could, and like obviously we won and we defeated the bad guys. But the disillusionment of like all the lives lost and the anger like that's irrational sometimes it comes with that like his and it's just so good. And she, Claire's mom, Julia, is like this guiding light for him when he's having his PTSD attacks, and they portray it so realistic,
Yeah.
especially for the time period because men, like, it's a little bit more understandable now, but back in like 1914, he felt like a failure to her and to their future child. And now he's back in time in the 1714 and he can't find her, but he still has PTSD from World War I. But he's back in 1914 working for a clan that will kill him if he doesn't do a good job at his job.
Yeah.
And which is kind of like an extortionist kind of vibe. So it's like he may have to do some bad things. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And it's like they're the like the OTP, like the main couple of this series. And then you get on the other side of things, you have Jamie's parents, Brian and Ellen. They meet in a barn. They have one conversation and then they decide to meet up later and sneak out because he's not supposed to, he's an enemy of her clan, so he's not supposed to be there. So they sneak out and meet at a bridge. They have another conversation and they're like, it's basically like the cheesiest Romeo and Juliet, like, I love you and we're not supposed to be together and I love you. Like, it is the cheesiest. And I'm like, why are I don't understand why you're doing Brian and Ellen so bad when you're doing this other couple. Like, you can write a really good romance. So, like, did they purposefully choose, like, we're going to do this cheesy, I love you at first sight romance, and it's like a choice that they did? Or, because they write, so they're doing the history right, the romances, the side characters, like, literally, Claire's mom is trapped in Jamie's dad's castle because his dad's an evil jerk. So Jamie's dad, Brian, is dealing with his dad, the grandfather, and he protects he protects Claire's mom a couple times, and they actually become friends. So it's like at this point, he knows more about Claire's mom, and Claire's mom knows more about him than Jamie's mom, who is supposed to be the one that gets with him. So I'm just like, because it's a really good friendship that they're developing. Jamie's dad and Claire's mom, it's very weird. And I'm kind of ranting at this point, but it's like I don't understand why they're doing that so well and not Jamie's parents. And it's like having Jamie talk about how his parents got together and like that. It's just like, it makes me wish that they would be doing better at that particular romance, but everything else is good and I don't understand it.
Yeah.
That's my rant and my last thing to discuss about Outlander.
It's probably just something that, again, that over time, it's not going to, over time, they may develop it more, and I don't know.
Don't know. It's literally like, okay, we're gonna do a really good romance here. Let's make them Romeo and Juliet, complete with the "I love you" and "I just looked upon you." And we talk really, I don't know. And Ellen's character, she's like this really strong character who like lost her father. She has to deal with Colum and Dougal, her two brothers, who are like using her. Like, Colum wants her to marry one guy, Dougal wants her to marry another guy. She doesn't want to marry any guy, and she's like a completely different character. And then when she interacts with Brian, she's like this really dumb love struck teenager who loves him at first sight when she didn't want to get married in the first place. So it's like it's like weirdly not her character. I don't know. It's not consistent, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah. So that's pretty much what I've been reading. So
yeah. Okay. Which I kind of went over a few things with the one that I was currently reading, which I'm just not getting to the part where like the main kind of like they're leaving where the current location to go accomplish something. So
also, if you wanted to spoil things, you can, because I'm never going to read that book. So I just wanted to let you know, if you wanted to talk in detail, you can. I didn't want you to feel like you couldn't.
No, it's okay. Let's see. So there's like a new king that was kind of like, they're calling him like the boy king, and he comes and like normally when people come to like with the diviner, they usually like use the like diviners. They usually like will have like a question, and he just comes, but he doesn't really have a question, and he just wants to kind of, um, and there's 5 different omens, and like based on the what happens to the object in the vision will determine if it's like a good favor or bad favor. Like it's like, it's like a good thing or a bad thing. And he like all 5 of the objects are like bad omen, like a bad omens. And so yeah, and so there's this one night in particular that he well like believes in the omens, but he doesn't have faith in them. That's how he words it. And it's kind of very quickly you can see that he doesn't agree with how the girls are treated the in this like place, because essentially when they're divining something, and this is where I was kind of like on the verge of it, but it didn't over like the writing was done well enough that I didn't focus too much on it, but like they will taste a little bit of this person's like blood, and then but it mentions it, but it doesn't like overly focus on it. It just mentions that her mouth tasted like coppery, and that's all it mentions about it. But then like she has to drink this like lake water that causes like intense pain, and then they like drown the girls, and then they start like dreaming, and in this when they dream they have and so it's like you can tell very quickly that he doesn't agree with it. And so the other girls, there's like 1 through 6, I think there's 6 of them, and they're literally called 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Like that's their like they reference them as their names, because once you join for like 10 years at a time. And for those 10 years, like, you can't take the veil away from your eyes, and you don't use your name. And usually by the end of the 10 years, most of the girls have forgotten their old self. But she kind of determined that she wasn't going to forget her name. Like, she remembered, like, and because it mentions very quickly what her name used to be, which was, like, Sybil, I believe, was the name. Sybil Delling. Sybil Delling. It was originally what was her name. And so like go on, and it's like the knights that come with the new king. One of them is the one that I think is going to be kind of the main guy character of the story. And so they go out and they sneak the girl for like whatever reason, like for various reasons, they sneak the girls out because the girls want to go out, and they're technically not allowed to leave until their 10 years are up, but they sneak them out to go like for the evening to have like just have fun and go do stuff in the town. And so the knight and the king make a bet that if he gets knocked over 3 times, he'll have to do something for the like. He'll have to. It's kind of like betting. Like if you lose, then you have to do something. And so the king made it to where like if he got knocked down 3 times, he had to go get his future had to go get his future read by the diviners or whatever, because he said he was never going. He was never going to do that. He was never going to invest in that, and so she ends up like knocking him over, knocking him down the 3rd time, and so she kind of sets up this whole thing. But whenever she does it for him, it's like completely different than normal, and it was just it's kind of interesting. And so now, I guess I should have said spoilers ahead of time. But right now, it's like one of those things. In my initial comment on Tome about it, I said that it kind of felt like there was like hint of like things kind of hint of things going wrong. I forget how I worded it exactly, but like now some of the girls are disappearing. They'll disappear one by one at night because they're locked up in these cabins at night. And the girls are slowly disappearing. I said that it's felt lighthearted with an air of heaviness, like there's more going on than what's being portrayed, and like the writing style is really unique because it's just the wording and like the way things are worded just feels, I don't know, it feels different, like Renaissance-y. It's really kind of interesting. It's different than some of the other books I've read. So it's really kind of
Yeah.
interesting. And so now,
Speaking of getting people commenting and stuff, because like my tome is like dead. When I would
mhm,
went back, I think it was reading Kingdom of Ash, which I figured would get a lot of like people interested because it's Kingdom of Ash. So I haven't really talked about Outlander a whole lot. I need to get back on there, but it just felt like it was,
mhm,
and the hashtags that I use, sometimes they have like where like they've been used like 1,000 times or whatever when you look at it, and then other times it's like 59 posts, so it's not that
mhm.
much. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm still trying to figure out how to navigate it. It just feels kind of dead in my like for
yeah,
me, but
yeah. I
I don't
think
know.
um, I know some people will post like meme-ish type stuff on there. Like I usually try to do like like reading update. I always kind of just stick to like reading updates and stuff, or just like different
Hmm.
thoughts. But like sometimes it's a hit and sometimes it's not. So it just kind of depends. Like
Yeah.
my rant about Bryce on there only there's like one girl that commented, one person, I don't know if it's a girl or a boy, but they commented about it and said they were slightly disappointed with the third book because they thought her attitude that about her attitude in secret keeping and things like that. Um and so I kind of responded to that, but then there's some other times where I noticed like when I'll take like picture like my book coffee shop pictures tend to do okay, and then there's other ones where um like my finally started like when I first posted about starting to read um book 3 in Crescent City, it got several reactions. So I think it's one of those things that just kind of hit or miss and figuring out like I don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes I hit and sometimes I don't. I don't know if it's like the time of day that I'm posting it. Like, because I asked a question about Quicksilver and like nobody saw it and I didn't get any reactions at all. But I forget what time of day I posted it. So I don't know.
Right.
It's just kind of like a. I usually kind of stick to bookish things, and there's times where I will just go to the feed and we'll try to find something that I go to the new tab, not the hot tab, because like the hot tab
Yeah.
sometimes you'll find just like real like posts that have more comments. Like not here, like the my current hot tab is like only 2 comments or like 20, but like in the past it used to be like 50, 100, 200 comments, and so it's like which I still got the main person to respond to me when I would do comment on those, but I find that I like commenting on posts that are like currently being posted. um,
Hmm.
but that's my kind of thing. I
Kind of
just
mine after the Kickstarter ends and start talking about what I'm reading and
yeah
then interact with people,
yeah
see what happens.
I would say probably I would say focusing on doing like more reading updates or just random like bookish thoughts while you're reading or like just like a
Hmm. I
like
forget to do that so badly. Even with like I haven't been on Threads in a long time either, and I don't do that with Instagram, so I need to get back to doing that.
yeah
But
or like just posting like book reviews or like because like when I scroll through like the new tab it's a lot of I'm usually super bored like book reviews where people are posting like book reviews. And what I noticed is that if you click the add a book, they've changed like your home screen a little bit. So it used to just show all of your posts, and now it organizes your posts based on like the books, based on books. So if you go to a new post and you click add a book at the bottom and you add a book to it, it will organize all of those posts when you add a book to that post. It will organize them all together. Um,
oh,
and that's more of like a more recent thing, I think. So you have like your collections, but then underneath that you have like where it says all books. And so like the 3 posts that I tagged the book in about Crescent City, um,
mhm.
it shows them all together.
Right,
Um,
that makes sense.
but I haven't like taken the time to go, because like if you post a picture, you can't add the book and post a picture at the same time, which I wish that could something that could be changed. But yeah,
Yeah.
so it's kind of, I feel like it's still kind of figuring out. I don't know if there's like an algorithm for Tome or how it works, or if it's just one of those things,
Hmm.
like posting at a time when there's like people on, or when they can, you know, go through and pick
Yeah.
things out.
Makes sense.
Yeah, but like I definitely sympathize with that, because my Instagram's dead. Like I've been away from Instagram long enough that I don't really get um any like much interactions at all, other than like when you or Katie will comment on stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah, because like I tried this new like a book review type thing on Canva, and it's like I didn't get any likes at all on Instagram. I got Katie liked it, and that was it. So I'm like,
Oh, didn't see
my
it.
Bookstagram's pretty much dead. I posted a
Uh,
coffee one,
mine
and
was
I got some likes on like my coffee picture one time, but it's just like on the days that I have off, I can't always get up early enough to post my my book things, so it just
makes sense.
kind of
I
depends.
know mine was. And when I started promoting the Kickstarter, I've been posting like 3 times a day, and so mine are starting to finally get a little bit of traction, or at least a lot of views on the reels, but I'm posting 3 or 4 times a day.
Yeah.
So also trending, I did a bunch of the K-pop Demon Hunter songs because those were just exploding everywhere. So like,
Mhm.
trending stuff. I did a
Yeah.
couple of TikTok trends too. Can't remember which one it was, but that one actually got a lot. One of the TikTok trends actually got a lot of views on Instagram. So that was,
Oh,
I
cool.
forgot what one that was. I'm not perfect, I think was the trend. It was the I'm
Mhm.
not perfect trend, and it was like interpretive
Yeah.
dance, so you could do whatever you want. So I was just like, I'm holding my book and I'm just shimmying because I can't do anything else.
Yeah.
But wait, I should probably run through the Kickstarters real quick before it gets too much later in the stream, but we've got a lot of stuff to talk about too. So I know you do at least.
Yeah.
Um, so the first Kickstarter is Guardians of Camelot by Sarah Bigelow. And it's still in its pre-launch phase, so it hasn't launched yet. It's Guardians of Camelot 10 deluxe portal fantasy hardcovers, stunning foiled covers, printed edges, bonus content. It's inspired by Arthurian lore, modern day Morgan Le Fay and her knights await you. So it seems pretty good. It's got like, so it's contemporary, like a contemporary kind of like um modern day portal fantasy with a cast of strong female characters. Camelot, maybe a different realm, but it's on and but it's as modern as our world. I can't talk. Borrowing from our society in many ways. So that's kind of the gist of it. I assume she's gonna have like an ebook tier and stuff too, but it's got printed in papers, which I would love to do, but I don't have the programs that do that. So which is really cool. I like the covers. The covers are really cool and they're like really colorful. So
Mhm.
that was Guardians of Camelot by Sarah Bigelow. So if anybody's interested in that one, you can just click follow, notify me on launch, and you're like following the campaign and you'll be notified when it goes live. So
Sweet.
um yep. And also we have a link to all of these Kickstarters. I actually have them all on the webpage. You can see them, including mine. I forgot to mention that earlier if anybody wants to, because there's like still not that much time left. So all of that is in the link that she has in the description. So just to let you know. So there's a lot of good ones. So this next one looked so good. It's called A Bird Among Wolves, Deluxe Hardcover Special Edition, by Tracy Leonard Nakatani. I'm sorry, I'm mispronouncing your name. A dark epic fantasy for fans of The Witcher, Princess Mononoke, and Game of Thrones. She was never meant to be the hero, only the warning. The cover is gorgeous. Oh
Mhm.
my gosh, I actually saw this. We got morally gray characters, found family, ancient forest magic, multiple POV epic, which you and I have talked about how we really love that. Broken
Mhm.
heroes. I love broken heroes. Slow burn romantic subplot and political intrigues. Um, So her father's killed. She's forced to flee. Torn between allies and fractured kingdoms and the beast within. She must choose who she'll become. So it's just like it's
Sounds interesting.
it sounds really good. Yeah, I like The Witcher and Game of Thrones, so that's I haven't really kept up with The Witcher, but it seems like it's got good vibes. So
Yeah,
that was A Bird Among.
one of the books, a bookstagrammer, the Bookish Alley, made the comment that it felt like this book was like being immersed in a Skyrim quest. And so I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like,
Yeah,
that's a
that's
compliment for sure.
um, yeah, definitely, especially for us because we love Skyrim. So that's still in its pre-launch phase, so you can click notify me on launch. I'm following the campaign. It's got 72 followers, so it doesn't have a whole bunch. Like I had only 50, so that's just I noticed a lot of other campaigns had like 300 or something. I'm like, "Oh my gosh." Um so so that was that one. Next up, this one actually sounds kind of good too, just because I'm a sucker for this kind of stuff. A Beast Cage and Briars, exclusive Fae romantasy hardcover. A spicy dark fantasy romance with a stabby female character, a shadow daddy main character, enemies to lovers, forced proximity, feminine rage, and he falls first. So
Hmm.
it was the shadow daddy part that got me. I am a
Mm-hmm.
sucker for that kind of stuff. So by Tempest Rain, so a beast caged in briars. So it seems like it's what if she was the beast and he was the beautiful Fey assassin who was trying to kill her?
Hmm.
So slow burn romance, Beauty and the Beast, dark romances, where the shadow daddy can't control himself and his shadows want to devour, all that stuff. So
Yeah.
it seemed like it was pretty interesting from what it sounded like. So that one's another one. That's in pre-launch stage, so you can follow that campaign if you want to. I forgot to say the author's name, Tempest Rain. So A Beast Cage and Briars is that one. This one, I think, yes, this was the one that I'm like, I am going to pledge as soon as it goes live. So, Hollowed, a gothic fantasy romance deluxe hardcover. It's a standalone paranormal romance retelling of the classic legend of Sleepy Hollow with witches,
Mm.
mythology, and deadly secrets. I love Sleepy Hollow. I actually used to watch the TV show a
Mm-hmm.
long time ago. I haven't kept up with it at all since, but I used to love it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got Irish mythology, fake marriage, spooky fog, hard of hearing, main female character, and then a cinnamon roll
Mm-hmm.
male character. Touch her and die. It looks gorgeous. Got fake marriage, chosen one. Sentient house and a sentient book, so that's pretty cool.
Ooh, cool.
Kissing only, but loads of tension, so it's actually like not spicy. It's like
Yeah.
more steamy, which I appreciate.
Oh,
So
that's cool.
it looks and sounds so good. So and the art's pretty cool too.
Yes.
So it's by Jessica S. I can't talk tonight. Oh my gosh, Jessica S. Taylor. So hollowed, not hallowed. I am butchering this. Okay, but that one looks really good too. So Lee and the Poisoned Estate, a Snow White retelling, is the next one by Scarlet, a special edition of a romantic no spice fairy tale fantasy novel inspired by Snow White. So I really really love the no spice one. So anytime there's some a romance that's no spicy, I like jump on it. So the art's kind of cute. Annoyance to lovers. That's a new one I've never heard before. He Falls First, Cozy Village by the Sea, Northern Lore, Morally Gray, Grumpy Sunshine. It's got beautiful art and swag and stuff like that. I think she's actually got some chibi art, so I had that for one of my campaigns. Custom chapter illustrations. So it sounds so good. It's in its pre-launch phase as well, so you can follow that Kickstarter. Um, which was I think it's book one or two in the series, but
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a series of standalone. So Lee and the Poisoned Estate by Scarlet is that one. Next up, we have Lament of Light, a young adult superhero novel. It's Love Square of Miraculous Ladybug meets the humor and maturity of Buffy the Vampire Slayer in this hardcover paperback series debut. So it's actually currently going on. You've got 16 days left to go. So, and it looks like they've earned quite a bit. So on that one. Um, so yeah, fans of Miraculous Ladybug, which I've never heard of, and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So it's like superhero stuff
Yeah.
by Brianna Young is the author. So the art's pretty cool. She does these little GIF kind of videos where she's showing off it's very gold. It is very, very gold. So so it's just cool. Forbidden Love, on multiple POV, superpowers. Secret Identities, Platonic Soulmates, so it looks pretty cool.
Oh, cool.
All right, this last one. I saved this last one because I needed to talk about it a little more. This last one was really interesting. So it's The Secrets of Jane Omnibus. So The Witcher meets Pirates of the Caribbean in this spicy, dark romantasy, books 1 and 2 together for the first time by Charlotte Mallory. So I think she is, was it this one that she's doing the audiobook? And I think she gave me a link to, I think it was her newsletter where she sent out information about it and how she has two really good narrators for this book, and she had Anthony Poloni as a third like guest. And
Ooh.
for he basically is featured, and he does Resand in the Akatar ones, and he also does Kingfisher.
Sweet.
And I listened to the start of it because I always like to preview books to make sure I'm gonna like it, because I tend to
Mm-hmm.
DNF things, and I don't want to DNF a book on authors and stuff. I don't like doing that.
Yeah.
So I always like to make sure it's something that I like. And I listened to the first little bit of, or the sample of the audiobook, and it sounded so good. So I'm following this one. It's in the pre-launch stage as well. I can't remember exactly where I like what she took me to that gave me this sample thing. But it was really cool. So I wanted to talk about that. Charlotte Mallory, I gotta look her up on my messages because I've been messaging so many different authors lately. I can't keep anything straight. So I wanted to, yeah, okay. She had sent my book in her newsletter, and she gave me the preview to her newsletter, and which she sent to her people. So her newsletter people was actually able to see this. And so I'll just describe what I'm looking at. It's I actually think it's a different book, maybe, or it's one of the books in this omnibus, I think. But Bound in Violet ink, with Jackie Pryor and Brandon Francis. So it's a duet narration. You know me, I love duet narrations.
Mm-hmm.
And a guest appearance by Anthony Palomini, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
novella. Um, Sound effects, music, she's producing it herself, and it's ACX exclusive on Audible and
Sweet.
Apple Books. So the Secrets of Jane audiobook is beginning recording, and it'll be available for purchase in the Kickstarter. So yeah, I don't know. I guess that the one I listened to is different than the one on the Kickstarter, so I'm gonna have to Bound in Violet ink. So I'm gonna have to look that one up on ACX
Sweet.
sometime um because it sounds good.
Yeah.
So, and producing it herself. So I don't know why I thought it was the same thing as the Kickstarter one, but either way, it all sounds good. So, a Fate, I think that was the last one too. So, but yeah, Charlotte Mallory. So you know, she'll be launching that one, The Secrets of Jane, soon, and so she may actually kind of do more announcements about the other books that she has for anybody who is listening,
Yeah.
who is interested. I mean, all right, Bound in. Okay, so that was the last one. I'm gonna look this up real quick.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like there were several good ones.
Yeah, there's a lot of good ones. I actually found it Bound in Violent Ink on Audible. It's got 4 ratings already, and I think it's actually like where you could technically start listening to it.
Oh, sweet.
It's 3 hours and 29 minutes, so it's really short. With guest appearance by Anthony, and it's the duet narration, so
Yeah.
he's chained into Sealy prison. Okay. Crave, fated love, where okay, he's an unseelie High Lord chained in a Sealy prison, and she's the adopted daughter of the very court that locked him away. She writes to him out of boredom, rebellion, and hunger for more, and he answers because his mate has found him, even if she doesn't yet understand what she's done.
Mm-hmm.
Now, nothing, not wall politics or the fragile peace between the courts, will stop him from claiming what's his, even if it means tearing her world apart to reach her. So it
Sweet.
sounds good. The sample I listened to was really cool. So
Yeah.
I'm going to actually look that up. Even though I don't really like Audible right now, it is still supporting her since it's exclusive, and she worked really hard. I think she produced it herself, but she had the narrators like, so
Mm-hmm.
she actually did all the putting everything together bits
Oh,
herself. So,
cool. Yeah. That's awesome.
yep.
Okay, so we had a couple different theories that we were going to talk about. But there was one thing that I wanted to mention before we talk about because I only had one kind of fan theory, that I can kind of sort of connect back to a book, but it's about a fandom, so that's kind of where I'm pulling it in from. But I did see a few days ago that there were pictures released, for the new Narnia reboot on Netflix. And one of the things that they had mentioned was that they were set to like start with the magician's nephew, which they said was like a change in timeline, but in reality it's not. It's just the original timeline, but it's different from the movie timeline that they did. With the movies focused just on the Pevensies, whereas the actual Chronicles of Narnia starts with the magician's nephew. So she's starting from chronological book one, is what she's doing. That part, it's not a big deal. One thing that the magician's nephew, the book itself takes place in 1900, whereas a lot of the pictures and what's been released indicates that the timeline for the book has been changed. The time period setting, they changed it from the 1900 set. It was originally set in 1900, and they've changed it to 1950s.
Oh, okay.
And like,
that's weird.
Yeah, and it's like the only thing I can think of that could potentially fix this was that the magician's nephew book was released in 1955. The release date was. So unless they're going to do like a homage to C.S. Lewis by having like showing him writing it or having him talk about it at the beginning or something, and then kind of go into like a storyteller vibe where the story is told, unless they plan on doing something like that, like they're going to completely like change the year, like, because like, and this is just a quick rundown, like in the books themselves, the magician's nephew was written like inside the book. The date for Earth in the book is 1900. For Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, it's 1940. Prince Caspian is a year 1941, because they had been gone for a whole year on Earth, but they'd been gone for like a couple, like at least like over 1,000 years in Narnia. So like Narnia's years run differently. The time does. And then The Voyage of the Dawn Treader was a year after that in 1942. The Silver Chair also, like that book also takes place and like is written Earth time within the book in 1942. The Horseless Boy doesn't really specifically say, but the last battle takes place in 1949. So like the whole premise of like the series takes place in like the magician's nephew is the oldest one, which takes place in 1900, and then all the others take place in the 40s, like in the midst of the war, because part of the reason why the Pevensies are sent away is because of the war going on in like London and stuff. So it's like it makes me concerned, but the only thing I can think of is maybe they're doing some kind of homage to C.S. Lewis, like he's telling the story, so it's going to show like people, like the setting of people from the 1950s, and it's going to show things, and it may show him, and he starts telling the story. Like I could see something like her paying homage to C.S. Lewis in some way, that way. That's the only kind of thing that I can think of for it to show the 1950s. But it says, this setting is not officially confirmed, but it does seem likely to be the case for the upcoming film, as seen in the Narnia set photos. So they're taking all of this from like set photos that were released that show from 1950s. And so that's my thing, is like I don't think this is like it's not officially confirmed. And it says this might complicate things, specifically for the franchise. Notably, the stories in the Narnia books were largely set in the 40s during World War II. So like I don't think that she could get away with changing it to the 50s, because the kids were taken away during World War II. So I think it's somebody's blowing this out of proportion, and I'm thinking she might be playing homage to C.S. Lewis somehow, because the original book was written and was released in 1955. So that's where it's like, I honestly,
like that in the beginning that plays homage, and it's like just one scene, one part, so it's not the whole movie.
yeah. That's my thing, is like C.S. Lewis could be the one telling the stories. And I think that would be kind of cool. Yeah, that's where my thing is. I think that would be really kind of cool if it's like him telling the stories, and so it comes back to him. Like, I could honestly see, what's her name? I always forget her name.
Gerwig or something. Is it
Greta Gerwig, I believe. I could easily see that being something that she would do to like pay respects to C.S. Lewis and to like to honor, him being the. I could see that. I'm hoping that that's what it is, because like that's the only way you could make it have a set in the 50s, unless I don't know. Unless there's another option too, which this would give a big spoiler away for the last battle, though.
I'm probably not going to read them, to be honest. So if you want
to warn people. Warning for the Chronicles of Narnia, which it came out in the 1950s. So if you haven't read it by this point, you're kind of you're really late. Yeah, you're like really late. So the whole premise of the story is like, it has a lot of, which you already know, this has like a lot of Christian biblical parallels. The magician's nephew is essentially the biblical creation, parallels the biblical creation of like Garden of Eden, that whole vibe. The last battle is essentially the book of Revelations in the Bible. It parallels that very heavily, and that's literally my favorite book in the whole series, is the last battle. But essentially what happens is all of the past kings and queens return to Narnia one last time, and old Narnia fades away. You have like a fake Aslan that's pretending to be Aslan, which kind of parallels the Antichrist and that whole thing. It's very, very heavily Revelations. And one of the things that happens is that and this is the big spoiler bit, only 3 of the Pevensies return to Narnia. It's Peter, Edmund, and Lucy, because Susan stopped believing in Narnia. And she doesn't believe. And what happens is there's a train accident, and the 3 of them die, and Susan does not. And so it's essentially like heaven, and like a new heaven and a new earth, and it kind of mentions that at one point. And so the only thing I can think of, other than her paying homage to C.S. Lewis at the beginning, is if Susan has like a redemption arc by going back and telling these stories and telling the stories. That would be, you know what I'm saying? Like, that would be the only, like, that would be really, really, really cool. Because literally the whole thing, and that's like with fans, is like the saddest part. And there's been like fan fictions written of like letters, like letters for like Susan writing letters after they're gone, and like there's been fan fictions of different things like that. But it's like, that's the biggest shocker, is that Susan, she would laugh at when they would talk about Narnia, because all the other 3 were like very passionate about Narnia, and they still believed, and she would laugh at them and be like, it's so funny that why are you still talking about these games we would play as kids? And she stops believing in Narnia, stops believing in Aslan, thinks it was all just a story, the games that they would play when they were children. And in the end, the 3 of them die and return to Narnia, and she's not there. And it's like, it's so intense. It is like literally my favorite book. Oh my gosh, it's so good. It is really good. And it's like, I don't know, like the whole like fake Aslan and like leading people astray. And there's like this, and it's probably one of the first books that I've really been able to like visualize like the scene in my head. And I think the books that I read had a few little like illustrations, so I think that helped. But there's one part where like things have like the old Narnia is done away with. And it's like, oh, it's so cool. And so like there's this a new Narnia and the new Earth, and it's like this really kind of cool concept, and it's just really neat.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really cool. That's huh?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just gonna continue gushing, but
Like where I've always described, because Chronicles of Narnia for me has always been like, I haven't read the books, but the first movie and the parallels with Bible stories and a fantasy telling was the inspiration for me, mixed with Lord of the Rings, was the inspiration for the Valiant series. And so that's essentially like the final book's going to be Revelation. And Raiden is my Jesus character, so y'all know what's going to happen with him. If you know the Bible, spoiler alerts, you know what's going to happen to Raiden. So my final book is Revelation, and it kind of like makes me feel validated that I've always described it as Chronicles of Narnia, but like just older. I may need to add that on there. But it's just like, it makes me feel more validated, because that's kind of what I did, but that's what Chronicles of Narnia did. So it really is a comparison to Chronicles of Narnia. Oh, okay. And I'm also just getting chills because it's just so emotional.
Yes, it's just like,
kind of,
and it's just really, it's just a kind of a really cool thing. And like and the thing is I read them out of order. So I read The Last Battle, and so there were some of the kings and queens that I didn't recognize, but they all are from like the different books. So it's literally kind of like that, like the original Avengers concept where all the other characters come back together. That's literally what happens with Chronicles of Narnia, and it's really kind of interesting. And yeah, so like all the kings and queens come back at the end, and yeah, it's really cool. And it's
things where sometimes I feel like God knows what he was doing when he inspired me, and I like don't realize some of the things that he did, because I'm like, okay, we're kind of getting like, you're spoiling my series.
yeah it's kind of cool. So that was my first kind of thing, is I wanted to mention that, like, and I was genuinely kind of concerned about it, but then it's like the more I think about it, there are so many different twists that she could be taking with this that could be really cool. So it's actually honestly kind of making me somewhat hopeful for the series. Like I want it to do well. Like I love the Chronicles of Narnia. I also love that she's starting from chronological book 1 and not just the Pevensies. Like, I love that she's starting with that. And it's like, it's kind of promising because she's starting with that. That means I'm assuming that she's going to follow the train of the series. And it's like, there's some books that I haven't even read yet. Like, I haven't read The Silver Chair and The Horse and His Boy. Like, those are the only 2 books in the series I haven't read. But it's like, you know, it's really... I actually want to kind of go back and reread them at some point, because, you know, it makes me curious. Yeah.
Okay, so my theories that I had are completely left field different. Okay, these are fourth wing theories.
That's okay.
Yeah, so it's
okay.
I say fourth wing, but like they're kind of just the series and Dr. Onyx Storm kind of stuff.
Okay, so my only comment is that the fourth is the ACOTAR. Have you read through the theories ahead of time?
Yes.
Okay, does it only...
Nothing
okay. Okay, I was going to say, because there's the chance that it could spoil talk about characters from other series, so that's why I'm like...
Fourth wing?
No, ACOTAR.
These are fourth wing theories.
Oh, I thought you said ACOTAR, and I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah, I think you said. I'm pretty sure you said ACOTAR at one point, and that's why I'm like panicking, and I'm like, no.
Storm, I think is what I was trying to...
Okay, got it. Yeah, we're good now.
That's hilarious. So spoiler alerts if you haven't read Onyx Storm. For anybody who hasn't read Onyx Storm yet. So, one theory that this person brought up is potentially that Xaden's soul is maybe in Violet's wedding ring. So the explanation, it says in the note, it's yours now. We know that Vi assumes it is in reference to Tyrandor. Yeah. However, in other chapters, Xaden refers to Tyrandor as she or her, not it. So the example that she gives is Tyrandor bleeds, watches, she's dying under their rule. And I actually have a thought, because when I first read that quote, the note, "It's yours now," I thought he was meaning his soul.
Yeah.
And then it was like everybody was kind of like, "Oh, we talked about Tyrandor," and I was like, oh, "Okay, I was just wrong."
Yeah.
But my instinct was, he's talking about his soul.
Yeah.
And then I
Yeah,
think
I
Violet
think I
thinks it's,
especially
so
especially
that's
if
not,
it's mentioned, well, if like especially if he uses like talks about Tyrandor in a feminine sense, is that like anytime he talks about Tyrandor it's mentioned in a feminine, like as if it's a woman, like is if that, like if it's majority of
we
the
have to
time
go
when he
back and
men,
look.
yeah, I'd be curious to go back and see like if it's every time, like most of the time when he mentions that, if it's anytime he mentions I can't say it right. Yeah,
Okay.
if it, I could honestly, I would agree with you that it's probably talking about like, which, and if you look at the context of what was happening, is that like him essentially like giving away the rest of like the good part of what his soul, like giving the rest of like the good parts of the what few little good parts were left to her. And so it's like I
Yeah.
could see that being in a like a symbolic way. Now, whether that's like an actual physical, I'm gonna give you like Harry Potter, Voldemort, I'm gonna give you a piece of my soul. I don't
Yeah.
know, but it's like I could see that being like a sentiment, like a symbolic way, like you have my heart, you have my soul, like it's yours now, like in
Yeah.
a symbolic sense that it's like no matter how far I go, you still have that piece of me, kind of thing. Like, yeah, I would agree with you though. Like I thought, like my first reaction was to think that he was talking about the throne and everything. But now that you mention that, that does make sense. Like I could see him meaning that in like multiple different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I was, so that's when I was like, okay, this person has some validity in like her thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So I kept reading, because she has like a bunch of different ones on different posts.
Yeah.
So Zayden has been teaching Violet how to kill him. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
We know Zayden says it in chapter 20 that if, however, I think he taught her because she will have to use his sword, the one Vi says that blade was made to destroy exactly what he's becoming in chapter 34, to kill him.
Yeah.
Why, though, you may ask? Violet is the reincarnation of Dune, and Zayden is the reincarnation of Malek. I think this is the theory.
Yeah.
When Violet has to kill him because he's in the gem, I think she will place the gem in the sword or imbue it with his soul. Then when it pierces skin, his soul will transfer into his body after killing him.
Yeah.
Kind of like a Horcrux from Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Is the potential. So that's one theory that she has of a way to save him.
Yeah.
And these are all just theories to talk about. It's not like nothing is set. She hasn't even written the book yet. So, another one that's a potential cure is Salone. We already know that Salone is a siphon. So is Nowlin, which is why Brennan is still alive. Could Salone siphon the venom out and place it back in the continent? This would give a hot scene with Dane. Maybe Salone is at her breaking point and about to give in. She's about to die. And to give comfort, she says, "I'll be okay. I'll get to see Liam again." And Dane goes, "He's going to have to wait, love," and has her siphon from him instead. Because they had that moment in Onyx Storm. I think Dane and Salone had some sort of moment. What it was. So I'm like, that would be kind of a cute, just an idea for a potential type of thing.
Yeah.
And then, so dragons, remember in an interview, Rebecca Yaros has said that a dragon is lying and that they can lie about their name. So the theory is that it's Tern. Chapter 29, I listen as Tern receives the lore of his breed from the first his line up to Therax, the first black dragon to ever successfully bond back during the Great War, and then stops. Apparently, the story is no longer worth telling once humans are involved, end quote. I don't need to explain that. Next, chapter 60 says, "Do not lecture me on the laws of my kind, or you will learn how comfortable I am breaking them. Maybe because you get no repercussions, sir." I don't know what the theory is. I guess that he is the first, that he's potentially lying about his name, and he could be more epically powerful than we think.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's an interesting thought. So who is the brother? And this one was the one that my mind, when I was reading Onyx Storm, like, who is the brother? Like, where it's a toss-up between Garrick, Bodhi, and Brennan. Garrick says in chapter 63 in Onyx Storm, "I can't walk again. Even if I made it to Eratia, I'd never be strong enough to get back." he calls over his shoulder. So I'd better find some effing way to do something. Brennan is missing during the battle, which is so odd considering he's a member, and then Bodhi potentially because that was who Vi was supposed to
Okay.
marry to be a duchess, but now we're missing 12 hours and a ceremony.
So
So
my thoughts on that. I always thought Brennan was. I'm fully expecting Brennan to betray them because they're in the first book, in the first couple. I think it's in the first book or the second book. It mentions a story of the three siblings, and one of the siblings betraying the other two. It mentions that somewhere. I don't know where it mentions it, but it does. It was like an old story. And the fact that there are three siblings, there's Violet, there's the sister, I forget the sister's name, and then there's Brennan. I need to go back and look at the characters' names, but I firmly believe that Brennan's gonna turn around and betray her somehow, or in her quest to save Xaden, he's going to kind of become the opposite side that's fighting against her, because she's going to try to start breaking the rules and kind of crossing that line, and he's going to kind of be that. I don't know, there's two different ways. I kind of want him to be full bad in disguise and turn around and backstab her in some sense. That's what I want, because Brennan why bring him back from the dead only to keep him as some passive side character?
That's the thing. I felt no the same way you did. There was no point to bringing him back for just nothing.
None at all.
I read it though. My other thought was that I think it was, she starts with an I, Ivy or Irene or some sort of I name. At some point, I think she was found in some rubble, and she described it as just being disintegrated away, and she thought it was a venom, and then she looked and it was one of the guys, Garrick or somebody. I gotta have to look again. So my theory was that person, because I was like, what if she thought it was a venom, but it was really the turned brother, essentially.
I think, I honestly, when I read that, I had just kind of, in my head, had just accepted that it was Bodhi. His, the guy that was that was cousin, Xaden's cousin. Isn't it Bodhi?
I think
his Xaden cousin.
Maybe it was.
Because there was a couple different times back, and a couple different times where, in the story where either Xaden tells him to distance himself, and he's like, I'm not doing that, or it's I don't know, he saw it was acting kind of like a brother, or was saying that he wasn't just going to back down and just let him go. I know, though, he wasn't just going to sit back and be ruler while Xaden goes out and does there was a couple different things that he said, so that kind of hinted at the fact that he wasn't okay with just settling into a position of power and taking over the country after Xaden had left. And so whenever it mentions brother, I'm my first gut reaction was Bodhi. But then I'm it could also be a twist and be Violet's brother, and that could be the betrayal that I'm suspecting to come from Brennan. Yeah. So it's I don't know, it could be either. I'm either of those, partial to either of those. Just because I'm feeling that Brendan feels off, his whole vibe feels off. He feels just pointless. He doesn't have a purpose as a character. You know?
I definitely think that he needs to have, whether it's this or something else, I think Brendan definitely needs to have something.
Who was the best friend, the friend in book 1 that kind of didn't really believe in her? What was his name? Dane. I can see Dane falling into the brotherly role if Brennan were to ever betray her.
Yeah, I can see that.
I can definitely see that. And that's where it's I don't know, I could see a lot of different things, but it's is Rebecca gonna actually take that route and do that? Because there could be a lot of interesting storylines with that concept. And a lot of extra pain on Violet's end if her brother, who she thought was dead, turns out he's not dead, but turns out he should be dead to her because he, you know what I'm saying? There could be that whole concept of, I don't know, it could be really interesting to read and stuff with that.
it could be a lot though too with like Xaden turning and stuff, and then it's like then she's got to worry about her brother and but I don't know it's all up to Rebecca Yarros basically what she decides to do. So the
Mm-hmm.
next one was dream walking. Obviously, she and most of us assume she's going to use it to like spicy or dream walk and communicate with Xaden somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but she had a theory that Violet will be able to watch her wedding through Imogen's eyes, maybe see a memory through third POV. She also thinks she will be reaching into Brennan to see how Nowlin died. And I think she will use dreamwalking as a way to communicate with Xaden, even if
Yeah,
it
I think
isn't
so
like a
too.
healthy conversation, like that. I like the idea that she uses it to find more answers about the Nowlin situation and the Brennan thing because it feels like there was a lot that wasn't fully explained about Brennan being brought back and Nowlin's death and like I don't know there seemed like there was a connection with him and Taryn or I don't know maybe I don't know it was just like I kind of want more of an explanation about Nowlin and all that stuff. So the last theory is that she thinks that Nowlin is the sage and that Brennan knows. She has no proof, but she genuinely just thinks that Nowlin is still alive and is a Venin. She's probably far off with half of these, but she's like, let me know what you think, basically.
Yeah.
She admits these are just some fun theories. I like thinking about it. So it's just interesting,
Mm-hmm.
basically. So
Yeah. Okay. The only other one that I had was kind of it mentions a character that's originally from a Star Wars video game, but they've made novelizations about the video game, so that's how I'm connecting it. So we know that Ahsoka has had season one, that it's season two is currently in filming the Ahsoka show for Star Wars, and we know that it's kind of hinted at the fact that the what are they called what's it called? The Mortis gods. I haven't actually watched that particular season that has that those are mentioned in the Clone Wars, but it's kind of hinted that that's going to kind of be talked about a little bit and kind of like dived into, and there has been rumors about mentions of like or Dave Filoni has mentioned in like interest um, I don't know. There's some fans are speculating and saying that there could be a potential of Starkiller coming back as whether it's the actor that played him or actual Starkiller um, being like portrayed as the son in in season two. Now, there's no confirmation of this. It's purely just fan theory. One post on Instagram said that according to the reports in from San Diego Comic Con, the upcoming season of Ahsoka aims to dive deeper into the comic Force mythology established in Star Wars: The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels. With the potential twist, the introduction of okay, this is all fan theory speculation. None of this is confirmed at all. But it says that could potentially be a twist of introducing Starkiller. It says Darth Vader's former apprentice from the Force Unleashed video games, bringing it into current canon. It says the development aligns with remarks made by Dave Filoni at Star Wars Celebration earlier this year, hinting at the incorporation of the character, the son, in the storyline. And it kind of gives a recap of the end of Ahsoka. And then somebody in the
yeah,
comments said, "I'm not sure how many." How many interpret this, but Starkiller character is not coming to us. This some comment said this that it's reportedly the character that played him is being introduced as the son, not Starkiller himself. So it's kind of like I don't know. I'm hearing a couple different things, but there's potential of which I like that actor anyway. He's really cool. So it's like, regardless, that would be pretty cool if it's actually a thing.
here's the thing. I don't know if I think it's the same actor I'm thinking of, but I know the actor who plays the son is the actor very heavy in like Star Wars, and he's been like lore, and he's really respectful of the canon and stuff. And so I think it's the same guy who plays Starkiller. Um, and he also played in Smallville, by the way. So it's a cool little connection to Smallville.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So what I think could be potentially neat is to bring him in as the voice, because he voiced the son in the Clone Wars anyway, and bring him in as the son.
Yeah, I
And
think it'd be
the
cool.
idea of, because a lot of people had theories that like Anakin, because he was able to shift between the light and the dark so easily in the world between worlds, that he now has taken up the
I think
position of
so.
the father. Because in the
Yeah.
Clone Wars episodes, that's what the father was wanting back then, but Anakin just
Mhm.
wasn't ready, and
Yeah.
obviously he had to turn to the dark side. So now Anakin would represent the father. Ahsoka has been saved by the daughter, and that little bird that follows her around everywhere is like the daughter's kind of spirit, kind of like staying connected with her. So Ahsoka's always represented the daughter ever since Anakin saved her life,
Yeah.
and transferred the daughter's life into hers in the Clone Wars arc. So Anakin could be the father, Ahsoka being representing the daughter, and Starkiller would be a perfect kind of like,
The
you have
actor's
his light
name
apprentice,
the
you have
actor's
his dark.
name is
Right.
Sam Witwer is the actor's name, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, you have Anakin representing the father. You have Ahsoka representing the daughter, and Starkiller as the son. But the cool part about that is that you have Anakin, and then you have his light apprentice and his dark apprentice, and they're both, his apprentice as he was Vader, and it's like this perfect kind of representation of like all of that, if that makes sense. Because again, you have both, and also that would be interesting for Ahsoka being Anakin's apprentice, like face apprentice when he was Vader. And then she's always been kind of the light side person anyway, so it's like the light versus the dark, and Anakin's two apprentices versus each other, and Anakin being the father in between both of
The
them.
balance of the
So
two.
it has a lot of like,
Yeah.
yeah, and we know that the poetic storytelling has always been George Lucas's thing,
Yeah.
and Dave Filoni being kind of an apprentice to George Lucas has that poetic kind of full circle kind of storytelling aspect to him too. So
Yeah, because he also played the voice Darth Maul in the Clone Wars, some of the Clone Wars stuff too. So he's been very active in Star Wars for like a long time. And I think it'd be really cool to
yeah.
see him see his like at least his character reincorporated. Like I just want Starkiller to be canon again. Like I just want all my favorite characters to be canon again. I know Luke's wife is a lost cause at this point. She's never going to be canon. Leia's original children, all those storylines will never be canon again. I've kind of accepted that fate. But I want Starkiller back as canon. Like, that's what I want. Like, it's just, like, it's such a neat story. And it should, like, and the fact that he was struggling with things, but he always kind of felt dark. Like, I don't know. And I agree with you. Like, the whole poetic concept of Anakin being the balance, and the two apprentices that he had, one Jedi apprentice, one Sith apprentice, and like that concept of it, like I don't know, I think that would be really cool. I could see Dave Filoni doing something like that and being poetic like that, similar to how George is kind of poetic about things. So I could see it happening. Um,
Like a far out
yeah,
crazy thing.
yeah. It's kind of out there, but it's like it's out there just enough that I could see Dave doing it.
Yeah. I mean, the fact is the precedent has already been set when the world between the father son daughter arc in the Clone Wars has already been kind of set. The world between worlds has already been established, so it's like the precedent for it has already kind of like the foundation for it's already there.
Also,
For them.
um, another thing that I saw somewhere, that apparently there's armor similar to Star Killers in in the first season of Andor, in episode 4, apparently, in that shop where it has lots of different things. Apparently there's an armor set that looks similar. It's like the Star Killer's helmet. It's like an armor set that kind of looks similar to his helmet. So that's also a thing. Like, there's been kind of speculation that it kind of, I don't know. There's several different things to be like, I could see it potentially having like a little ounce of weight to it, but not enough that is like definite. But
Yeah. To me, I just want them to focus on Ahsoka and then Anakin and kind of do better than they did, because Ahsoka, like, I loved it when I first watched it, but there was a lot that they kind of didn't get they didn't do a whole lot good or right or whatever. So it's just like, I hope they do it all justice and whatnot. I didn't like the whole Sabine stuff for the most part, So
Yeah.
is it Sabine or I get Sabine and Satine mixed up.
Yeah.
But
That's fair.
yeah.
Trying to think if there's anything else that.
Seems like it's pretty. I feel like we've actually been live for a while, so it seems like a nice little wrap up
Yeah.
for everything. So I had a few things, but those were mostly just like if we needed more to talk about, I had them.
Yeah. That
So
makes sense. Alrighty. Well, if you guys let us know what your kind of anticipated reads for September is, because that's coming up here soon. And if there's
yeah,
any other kind of theories or speculation about like upcoming like book movie adaptations, different things, or if there's any other news about these like the Narnia adaptations or new series or kind of like the new Outlander show, if there's any news coming out, we'll talk about it next week. So
yeah.
yeah.
Since I've been following the Outlander one specifically,
Yeah.
really rigorously every week.
Yeah.
But yeah, and also what you guys are reading, and like she said, what you're reading in September. So
Because next week
I
will
think the next
be,
will probably be our wrap up and our
yeah,
future stuff for.
so that'd be good. Alrighty,
Yep.
guys. Well, hope have a good week, and let us know in the comments if there's anything you want us to talk about, or just
Yeah.
giving your own check-ins on how your reading progress is going.
Yep.
So we'll see y'all later.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.